Hey there, Instagram and YouTube. It's Gordon Miller, and we are trying a new time slot. I have had some folks giving me a hand getting things organized, and some people had on the actual live broadcast had recommended mm, a different time slot so that more people could take advantage of it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who wants to join live. Now live at 11 instead of live at 5, but that's all right. We'll just go call it live with it's live with Gordon Miller. But anyway, I I thought I would address a couple of questions. So first of all, I had reported that I got seriously burned and here on this side of my face and all down it. I was grilling the other night and some a bug flew in my ear, and so I have wrappers of Reynolds wrap with salmon in it that I was cooking on the grill, and I had one in my hand, and the bug flew in my ear, and I'm really deathly allergic to bees and wasps, and we have all sorts of those out back, and so so I instinctively am grabbing the salmon, and it flies in my ear, and I bring my hand up to put my finger in my ear to get this thing out uh, and drag the metal wrapper across my face. The only thing I can say is thank God I had my glasses on. I mean, my glasses literally kept it from, I mean, they would have laid the entire thing on my face. As it is, it hit my cheek here and down and towards my mouth. And it's still a little red. It's hard to tell in this. I've always thought this was my better side anyway. So but it's all right. It's all good. It's not something that I'm too worried about. I appreciate all the consider concern that everybody has posted when I posted the information. Other thing I want to do is a shout out to my buddy Nico. Nico Di Pietro. I mean, he actually has one of the coolest names to say. I find myself just actually saying his name from time to time just because it sounds so cool. I actually wish my name was Nico Di Pietro. In fact, I may actually change my name later to Nico Di Pietro. And I would have to pay Nico for that privilege, I think. Maybe I'll change names with him. I hadn't thought about that. But my heart rate and blood pressure back down where they normally are. If you take a look at my Instagram, it was high a while back, and Nico had outlined a series of protocols, and I followed them mostly, except for not really a lot of the supplement stuff specifically, but some of the other guidance that he provided, and it was really pretty amazing. I mean, he sent me an 18-page workup and gave me some alternative strategies for some of the medications I was taking. At the time, I was on between 6 and 8 medications, and it was great. Now I'm actually on one medication, and it's my anti-inflammatory for my arthritis. And so, if I don't take it, I actually can't move. Is how bad it is. But I'm hoping that I can actually get that taken care of as well. So generally, I mean, my numbers that I posted this morning are just ridiculously good, and I have Nico Di Pietro to thank for that. So Nico's up in Toronto. I think he was looking at coming back to the U.S. working. His specialty is nutrition and other types of medical and nutrition type practices. So I want to say thank you to Nico. It's been great. The other thing is that along with everybody else, I've gained some weight back from all the weight that I lost during this COVID lockdown. And I caught Gary V earlier, just a little while ago, on one of his things. I'm like, damn, Gary, you're getting fat as shit too. So I don't feel quite so bad if Gary V, the man, the myth, the legend, is also putting on some serious weight. You know, I'm about the same category he is these days. So in terms of weight gain during the COVID pandemic, so it's all good. So um, I only had one question that got DM'd to me, and it was one that I think is a really important topic to touch on, and that is the how to strike the proper balance between work and life, as well as also making sure that you're getting things done. I have a real problem with procrastination, and because of my massive OCD and my massive ADD, one of the things that is sort of ADD is my superpower. In order to get my brain to function and focus, there has to be sort of you have to engage the fight or flight kind of mentality. That mechanism in the brain. It's like, if I wait any longer, this won't get done, and something horrible will happen. And oftentimes the procrastination is there to motivate you to move forward, and you move forward quickly and efficiently because your brain can finally focus. And but they were talking about doing things in moderation versus like binge working or binge eating or other binge type activities. And those type of obsessive behaviors are not uncommon in certain types of ADD and other things like that. So I don't worry about those too much. I believe everything in moderation is good, but including moderation. So I'm not a huge fan of moderation in general. But so, so in terms of coming up with the right work-life balance, I've always made family and life and things like that a priority. I've tried to focus on work Monday through Friday, and I've tried to use date night on Friday as the delineator between the work week and the weekend, and save weekend for family and relationships. If your work schedule is different, and I know a lot of people, at least they used to, 10 bar and things like that, and Friday and Saturday night are their big things, and things like that. We're the worst job in the world to have a family is if you're a car salesman, except for Hank Carpenter, who works at Ferrari Fort Lauderdale. Hi, Hank. You guys are working all the time, but I see you sitting out by the pool also, so it can't be but so bad, brother. So, and it's now 11 o'clock in the morning, so I can't really enjoy vodka. That would be kind of weird, but mm, my espresso is especially tasty for some reason. Going live with you guys, so so that's the thing I think that's been really important for me is that I attend church regularly with my family. We do things together. For me, I think it's important to have an effective work life balance. I think that I'm a better person for having that kind of balance in my life, and I think that it's important that everybody have a certain a certain balance to what they do. And I think you have to work at it. I mean, I think you have to keep yourself from working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm usually always working on something. I mean, even if I'm sitting watching TV or something like that, I'm usually researching something or looking over another opportunity or things like that. But really, the greatest thing that worked for me is when I began scheduling calls, and people could go to gordonmiller.com and schedule a call. And even folks that I work with that schedule free calls because we're already actively engaged in an opportunity. They use my link and they schedule my free times, and I don't have to do that. I use Calendly to be able to manage my schedule. So it's been a great experience because I've been able to not have to worry too much about the countless back and forth. And hey, how about Thursday at 4, or how about Wednesday at 3, or how about Monday at 1? It's like just pick a time and slot it in. And so it's really been great in terms of managing my schedule that way. It really has taken a lot of other activities off my plate. And I'm I get the information I need. It automatically sets up the Zoom call and things like that. So I've really found that automating a lot of parts of my life here during COVID have really given me a lot more time, and I enjoy it. I mean, I've worked from home, for the last couple of years, but I worked remotely in 2003 and 2004. When I knew I was going to move from Blacksburg, Virginia to Richmond, Virginia. And so I wanted to see what working remotely was going to be like. And so, I've been working remotely off and on for much of the last 20 years. So it's not any different for me. And the kind of work that we do now internationally, where I have people all over the world that I work with, Yeah, I have this great deal that I'm working on right now that I hope turns out. One of my friends and followers from Quora, opportunity in Russia that my partners in the UK already have their Russian um, colleagues lined up. So it's actually going to work out pretty nicely, I hope. So, but all that gives me an opportunity to kind of focus more on that. And I get to spend time with my family. I mean, it's been good working from home and because I the kids are all here and my wife's here. Actually, today is my youngest son's. I'm sorry, my middle son's birthday. It was my youngest son's birthday 5 days ago. So happy birthday! And but it's been great. I get to spend time with the kids. I get to enjoy the birthday. In fact, my youngest son had four of his friends over, so we only had 9 people here. And we didn't violate the state gathering, and they were outside for the most part and 6 feet away from each other and things like that. So it was actually pretty cool, but worked out pretty well. So, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the questions. I appreciate the first 11 minutes of letting me just sort of ramble on about stuff and answer the first question. But so let's see what we got here. Let's look on Instagram first, since you guys are always the first one to leave. Which blue collar jobs will remain during the time of, I guess that's automation? Not many of them actually. In terms of blue collar jobs, the number one in terms of volume of jobs that is going to go away in the next 20 years is driver, whether that's pizza delivery driver or Uber driver or tractor trailer driver or pretty much bus driver, any kind of driver. And it's amazing how many jobs there are out there for a driver. And between self-driving cars and things like that, that technology is probably going to take, I estimate, 20 years from now. So 2040, I think it'll really start to take hold, and certainly by 2050, all of those jobs will be completely phased out. I actually think it'll actually be illegal at some point for humans to drive themselves. Which, in the fact that I would see that in my lifetime. I may be like 94, 95 when that happens. But I actually see the government in some places imposing a no drive standard when, it pisses me off too, because driving is one of the things that I think I do very well. I've got 3,000 track miles on the racetrack. I've driven just about every type of vehicle there is. I think I'm an amazing driver. And I've had some of the best teachers in the world that are professional race car drivers for BMW and Porsche. And I find it ridiculous that it's like that. So I can't imagine. Got a question from YouTube. Have I ever driven a Bugatti? No, I haven't. I don't. Being 6'2" and 295, I don't fit in many of those cars very conveniently. So I always love it's like the small Italian guys are the ones that end up buying those things because they can fit in it, or like Little Wayne, who's like like 5'9" or something like that. So anyway, so yeah, I think drivers are, and I think we're seeing waiters and waitresses and bartenders and stuff like that are going to probably go away here in the next 20 years as well. So let's see what we got here. More questions. As a boss, what characteristics in an employee help you decide if they're retained or fired? Okay, well, that's a great question. So I actually test everybody who wants to do any kind of work for me at all with the understandmyself.com Jordan Peterson test. And it's really interesting. So I had somebody take it this morning, and I'm not going to say who it was. And the results were actually pretty enlightening. Very low in conscientiousness, means they not very good at getting stuff done, and very high in neuroticism, high in volatility. Usually that would be a huge negative. Everything else was high in extroversion, or no, maybe it was low. I don't remember, but it was. But the other scores were fine. But the issue for me was just the fact that usually somebody with scores like that just finds it impossible to get things done. Well, this person is in their late 20s, early 30s, and has developed coping mechanisms to be able to ensure that they get stuff done. And I thought that was like really insightful. It was interesting to see the sort of natural cognitive battle that goes on in terms of trying to get things done, which must be rough for them. But I was sympathetic because the person I know to be very high functioning and working very hard and diligent and stuff like that. And I think the high neuroticism score is typical for most people in the 20 to 29 age group, in that millennial group. It's just too many fucks given. I mean, it's just one of those kind of things where you guys care too much about what other people think. When you get to be my age at 55, you realize nobody was thinking about you in the first place. I'm surprised you guys even tune in. It's like that anybody cares that I go live at whatever time it is, whether it's 5 or 11 or whenever the fuck it's going to be. The fact that anybody gives a shit that I'm going live is still a mystery to me. But I love to see the what you guys come up with, and I love interacting with you guys and taking your questions. And I also enjoy, the calls that have come out of this, and the opportunities that are out there, and helping people realize their dreams, and things like that. Like my website says, it's your future. Take control of it. And I've really enjoyed working with people to work through their ideas, and work through the opportunities, and really, or just tell them that what they're working on is just complete shit, that it's probably not ever going to be successful. And my opinion doesn't count for shit. But it's just based on my experience, and or statistics, or the data, or a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, so I thought it was interesting. In terms of what I'm looking for in an employee, I look for high agreeableness, but not too high. In this is in terms of the Jordan Peterson test. I look for high extroversion, but not necessarily too high. I look for high conscientiousness, and sometimes it can be too high. I look for low neuroticism, and I look for, fairly high openness, meaning they're creative, and not very volatile, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of things that I think is important. We'll test everybody from now on, but the test today is like the exception that proves the rule. Normally, I wouldn't give this person anything to do, but I'm about to embark on a project that this person's going to help me with, and they seem to be well suited to it, so I'm looking forward to it. But all right, so let's see here. Which blue collar jobs will remain during the time of automation? Oh, which ones will remain? Well, yeah, I mean, I think I answered that, but I answered it in the inverse. So I don't think very many blue collar jobs are going to remain. Manufacturing is becoming more automated. Drivers are one of the most things that are gonna go away. I think we're seeing a change in the restaurant industry. That I think that the restaurant industry may never recover. I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many different blue collar jobs. I mean, other than janitorial stuff, I don't see how many blue collar jobs there might be. Cleaning up behind self elitist asshole white collar workers is about the only job that I know of that's going to remain. So. Uh, I've read a lot about your history of cars on Quora. Yeah, thanks. It's so funny. So I had somebody the other day say, "Hey, I've heard you keep using the term 54 cars in 27 years," and there are 54. I mean, the list is posted somewhere. I think I even posted it on Quora. But and I have to say that. hmm, the list also includes a number of motorcycles, and things like that. I've had several of those, so it's not all totally cars, but the list is out there on the web. And but yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a car in the last 2 years, so I guess it would be 54 cars in 29 years. But the still when that statistic was valid a couple years ago, it still is the same statistic. So I haven't updated the statistic in terms of rolling numbers because I haven't bought anything else yet. So, but yeah, so I mean, I've owned just about everything there is, and what I haven't owned, I've either rented or leased or driven, and so yeah, I mean, I've posted my comparison on Quora between the Ferrari 360 Modena and the Lamborghini Gallardo, both of them around 2004 models. I think it was a 2002 Ferrari 360 Modena, and I know both are very different cars. I love both of them, but in very different ways. And but yeah, that answers on Quora. All right. This question is: I wanted to do an MBA. I'm just out of college. I have an option to pursue it now from India, or wait some years and try getting into a B school in the U.S. Should I risk it? Take a risk of waiting? Well, so an MBA, um, an MBA is required if you're going to go into corporate management. I don't think, I mean, there you can take the courses for the Harvard MBA program, which is one of the best in the world, is all online. If you want the information of a Harvard MBA, you can take the courses online for free. If you want the degree that says you went to Harvard, then, if you want the piece of paper so you have the required degree, then it doesn't matter where you get the MBA from. It's really a matter of how you apply what you've learned. And so I don't think the school itself matters too much, especially if it's a B level school here in the US. My son is in business school and has pretty great internship opportunities because of his performance in the classroom and even remotely. I don't know if he'll go on to get his MBA or not, but right now he's in business and finance, and he's doing great. I mean, he is a natural at it. He's just amazing. And he's in a decent school with a decent business school reputation, and it's not the Sloan School at NYC, and it's not Darden at UVA, but it's a good school, and I think he's going to do well. And I think college is generally what you make of it. And so if it doesn't matter where you receive your MBA degree, I mean, I think that Americans have the same sort of opinion of schools in India as everybody else, whether it's medical schools or, law school or, whatever, business schools. I think they pretty much don't respect it, and it's just a general misunderstanding of just the quality of the education. So I don't know that it's going to help you one way or the other. I wouldn't recommend putting your life on hold for a couple of years, hoping the pandemic's over. I would continue to move forward with your studies, get on with your life, and things like that. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Thank you for your answers. I hope your burn scars are healing, and take care. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. So yeah, like I said, the burns, the puffiness has gone away, thankfully, from the other day. I didn't end up going live, and thankfully I had my glasses on. If I didn't, I mean, it would have been really bad. And if I turn this way, you can kind of see more. But thankfully, like I said before, this is my better side anyway. So it's all good. I'm still obscenely handsome, so it's all good. So, so anyway, thankfully my wife got me to put Neosporin on it, so it's not too bad. Let's see what we got here on the YouTube community here. Nice to hear from you. What did you learn later in life? All right. Let's see. Any advantages in Los Angeles career-wise? You'd fit in a Chiron. It's a big car. Yeah, I'm sure. With $3.5 million Bugatti Chiron, pure sport even dent your wallet? Yeah, it would. My wife would kill me. So my wife puts up with my car habit, in and of itself. We'll get the kids through college, and then I'll go back through my, my car fetish. But as far as Los Angeles, I hate Los Angeles. I mean, I don't hate Los Angeles as much as I hate San Francisco. And I almost took a job in Cupertino back in the '80s, and I'm glad I said no. And I'm glad I decided to go on the path I went on. But California in general, it's like, man, God hates California. I mean, mudslides and wildfires and earthquakes and damn, I mean, why would anybody live in California? But of all the people that I know that live in California, the guys that live in San Diego is San Diego is really the place to be. I loved visiting San Diego. So the follow-up question on YouTube was, why do I hate San Francisco? So there are a couple things. I'm not much for the hills, certainly, but the and I just don't like the way the city's laid out. First of all, my favorite part is Soma, south of Market, and near the Tenderloin District, which has been revitalized in over the years. My favorite hotel is Hotel Nico. They fly the sushi in fresh every day. The tuna is amazing. It's worth it. It's worth it to, I mean, I forget what it cost a night to stay there, like $250 a night. But, I mean, the sushi is $250 a night, when you're eating it fresh for the good stuff. So, it's just amazing. I mean, it's just an amazing experience. But, unfortunately, the massive homeless population that they have, I got super sick the last time I was there, and flying in and out of the airport. If you have a morning flight, it's almost always fogged in, no matter what you do, and so and I have friends in Oregon. It's too rainy for me in Seattle. So that whole like left coast thing is a difficult proposition for me. And nothing against my friends in private equity and venture capital in Silicon Valley. I mean, I mean this with love. I do. East Coast deals and West Coast deals are just very different from one another, and East Coast and West Coast people are very different from one another. And I'd rather spend time in New York City. I'd rather spend time with Wall Street and some of the hedge fund guys, and I'd rather spend time, in that kind of environment. I just think that the deals are very different, and I'm not a huge fan of the people in LA. I'm not the Hollywood types drive me crazy. I'm not a breast implant guy, so I'm not plastic surgery guy, at all. I mean, I'd rather, I'm not planning on having any plastic surgery anytime soon or at all. And so, I think that, you get the same, plastic surgeon that, it's got everybody looking like the Joker, going on. So it's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I mean, it's just for me. I just am not. I'm an East Coast guy, and so unfortunately, and the San Francisco homeless population and stuff is just horrible. So, uh, all right. So let me get back to these other questions. Squadron Vishesh asks, "What's my opinion of the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign?" So I have a very unique relationship with University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. So the National Center for Supercomputing Applications (NCSA) is housed out of University of Illinois, and it was where I met Mark Andreessen back in his Netscape days, when he was building the Mozilla browser. I was there in the late '80s, in '87, '88, '89 time frame, working on founding the Lab for Scientific Visual Analysis. Well, Mark came along a few years later, and so I was back and forth between the University, Virginia Tech, between the university and University of Illinois, working on our National Science Foundation grant. And that's where I got a chance to actually meet Mark when he was there. I also met and worked with Bran Fortner, who was the founder of Spyglass Tools. And that time in the late '80s, early '90s was just unbelievable. I mean, it was like inventing fire. I mean, it was just that profound, and you just knew something was going on. I mean, it was. I mean, you could tell like life was never going to be the same for anybody. And I love Mark to death. I understand that his firm now, he's mostly in the investment, in the investment side of things, as most guys like that are. And Brand Fortner, I think, is still teaching at University of Illinois, and which I love. I mean, he sold Spyglass Tools to some major, buyer and things like that. But I love it. I mean, it was really a unique place in history. I feel like it reminded me probably what it would have been like to be at Berkeley in the '60s, late '60s, early '70s, to be at Urbana-Champaign in the late '80s, early '90s, when the whole Mozilla browser thing was happening and the internet was being born, and only major universities were on it, and I was right in the middle of it, and it was amazing. I mean, it was really. I was so grateful early on or later on. Didn't even realize how incredible a moment in history it was. But it's something. So let me get back to one of the questions here. Oh, one of the questions on YouTube was, what did I learn later in life? And so I think that's a great question, and one that I think I wish people spent more time kind of focused on. So, what did I learn later in life was that all the things that I thought mattered, either mattered like making money or having a big house or driving $100,000 car, things like that. I mean, I've had the 3 acre brick estate, with more square footage than you know what to do with, and a pool out back, and driving $150,000 cars and stuff like that. So back when $150,000 on a car was something. I mean, back in 2000, that's like $300,000 car status these days. So, but 200 and some thousand. But all the things that you think matter really don't. I mean, and things like worrying about what people think, and worrying about it's like, oh well, I've got to get this done, or I got to do this or whatever. All that stuff that really didn't matter. I mean, and the funny thing is about 90% of what we think matters doesn't matter at all. And you get to be my age, and I say that like I'm 70. I can't wait till I'm 70, actually. I mean, I look forward to the additional perspective when I'm 70 over where I am now at 55. I'll look back at, this is what, video 143 or something like that, or 142. And it's like, wow, man, all right, this is great. So, it's amazing what you think matters and what you think doesn't matter. And ironically, most of the things you think matter just really don't. And starting with what other people think of you. I mean, I really credit all of you out there who are watching this, who give a damn, who've gotten 33 minutes and 36 seconds into this video, which is likely to go on for an hour, and you're still watching. I mean, that's what matters. And it's not about day trading attention and things like that. I love Gary Vee to death. I do, but damn, man, it's not a trick. And I had this discussion with a buddy of mine. It's like trick is not a bad word. It's a cunning device to outwit somebody or something like that. But it's not meant to be deceptive. But this whole idea of day trading attention means that you want to, you're trying to usurp their attention for your own gain. Well, I've got no book, I've got no course, I've got nothing except the opportunity to spend an hour 3 times a week with you guys and answer your questions. And if you have other questions you want to, go to gordonmiller.com and book an hour session, then you're welcome to do that. And I'll spend an hour directly with you. But there's nothing wrong with, I see Daniel Mazur's on. So yes, tricks, it's, and that whole day trading attention thing from from Gary Vee is all about tricks, and which is there's nothing wrong with a trick, but I just don't think that at the end of the day, what matters is the impact that you can have on somebody else's life. And so for me, that's what I'm going to spend the next 15 years kind of focusing on. Is I'm going to take every day, and every day is going to be spent trying to make somebody else's life better. And in the meantime, my theory is that that will make my life better. If certainly may make it better, just because of karma, or it may make it better financially, or it may make it better in ways I probably can't even imagine. So for me, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend an hour a day for the next 3 days a week for the next 15 years, and see where this goes. I mean, see what we can do to make sure that you know make other people's lives better. So anyway, so thanks for that. Let me get back to some of the questions here before we run out of time on Instagram here. Um, you're an inspiration, longtime Quora follower. Thank you so much, Jose. I appreciate that, man. When will things be pre-corona again? So I my estimate is that, well, first of all, I think universities and K through 12 and everything will be closed until January at least. So I don't see anybody going back to school in the fall. I don't think there's any reason for that whatsoever. Everything's going to be online. It's going to be a nightmare for everybody, but I don't see this getting back to normal in air quotes until to that 2021. So, oh my God, didn't know that. Thank you. Very insightful. I'd love to work for you next summer. Well, I appreciate that. We're going to put a process together. Right now, I'm taking it on a case by case basis. I'm working, primarily with you're talking about the test scores and testing people and working through that. One of the things that I'm keen on doing is, since there are so few opportunities for female entrepreneurs, I've been working to try and support women who want to make their own way. The culture is different in different parts of the world. So Eastern Europe and India, parts of Asia, things like that. I'm creating opportunities for really high performing women that have a real potential to do well and try to create opportunities. I don't think that the world offers them the same kind of opportunities that a guy has. And so I don't think it's a fair or level playing field. Of course, they have a disproportionate advantage when it comes to social media because people will follow them because they're female. And so, as we're building a network of influence, a sphere of influence, obviously it helps to work with people who also have a large following themselves. And so, we'll be focusing on that. What are your views on the level of privacy loss on social media? So that's a great question. I have some, I originally had some serious concerns. I try to keep my family off of social media unless they want to appear. My wife is not going to appear anymore on Fridays, not because she doesn't want to, but she wants to do her own thing. And we got some great relationship questions and a bunch of things about us that are on the previous videos and things like that. But for her, it just really wasn't something that she was, all that interested in. And we keep the kids off of it. One of my children does not have any social media at all, and is not on social media. And it's we prefer it that way. I mean, if they want to be involved in something, then great. But typically, we've tried to keep it, keep the kids and the family out of it. For me personally, I don't care. You want to ask me a question, I'll answer it. I'll post stuff about most things. I mean, I've talked about everything on Quora, from my business life to my relationships to my sex life. So, I don't really care. I'll post on just about anything. But so for me, it's less. I'm less concerned about it. I've actually learned a lot from about that. I mean, I was a lot more protective of my privacy 2 or 3 years ago, but being on Quora has helped me get over that. And I enjoyed sharing. I'm brutally honest about everything, so it is just the way it is. Have you been fooled or backstabbed by somebody? How was the feeling, and did you carry hatred for that person? Well, so that's a great question. And I was actually talking with somebody about this the other day. My espresso is getting cold. Hmm. Man, I love espresso. Um, so, um, so the question came up about Steve Jobs and a friend of mine, his fiance, and he and his fiance were swindled by some guy selling fake concert tickets to some event and on Facebook, and they used Cash App to pay for them. Which if don't ever use Cash App unless you want to kiss the money goodbye for good. They were going to use PayPal, and PayPal will let you dispute the transaction if they don't complete the transaction and things like that. But Cash App, once the money's gone, it's gone. They don't have to give you anything, and there's no recourse and things like that. I love Cash App because it just is convenient, and it's instantaneous, and there's not a whole lot of headache like there is with some of the other stuff out there. Um, but there's also no recourse to get your money back, and you can try as hard as you want. The tickets were $650, which is under the $700 felony limit, and so this not a guy didn't commit a felony. He stole $650 as if he had done it with at gunpoint. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook isn't going to do anything. Cash App's not going to do anything. Local law enforcement's not going to do anything. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that that happen, and it reminded me of this my buddy and his fiance, especially his fiance, was going to spend like the next month and a half. Already spent like 100 hours trying to get her money back and things like that. And I was like, just let it go. I mean, you've wasted all this time, on this $650 when you could have made like another $6,000, $6,500, 10x what you lost if you would have been focusing that energy on making money instead of worrying about the $650 that's long gone. And so I even she booked a call with she and her partner, and we're going to review their business, and we're going to help take their business to the next level. And we'll help them level up this afternoon. Their call's at 4. And help them make the money back. I mean, you can't worry about losing money like that. I mean, I've had business partners screw me over. I mean, had one of my last business partners embezzled close to $800,000 from the company, but because he was the managing partner, and I bought his other partner out, who was not a senior partner, even though I was a equal partner with this other person. They were the managing partner, and our partnership agreement did not disallow him to take out $800,000 as a loan to pay the company back. And, so it was just one of those kind of things where, yeah, I mean, I've been, cheated out of all sorts of things over the years and things like that. And, but I learned over the years not to carry the hatred about that. I mean, the first really major example was back in 1997 when Apple infringed on our trademark for G3, and we sued Apple for $56.8 million dollars, and began a long, lengthy legal battle back and forth with Apple about that. And then Apple, invested about $100 million in advertising with Chiat Day and re-engineered the entire product line around the big blue and white G3 machines that had the logo like 2 feet by 2 feet on the side of the machine. So, Steve Jobs is, because I wouldn't settle except for anything but cash. And so Steve just simply, minimized the impact of the damages by overspending on advertising. And of course, that launched the products and made history. So it was hilarious. But I carried hatred for Steve Jobs around for way too long, probably into about the 2007 range, was about 10 years. And when the iPhone first came out, and when the iPhone was so revolutionary, and Steve was back at the helm at Apple and really doing what Steve does best, I was like, man, I don't care what the issue is. I mean, you got to love this guy. I mean, this guy is amazing. And, I have a lot of love for Steve. I miss him. I do. And, I spent all those years hating him, and all those years, wishing that I had taken the stock deal a million shares of Apple stock at $10 a share, I would have been a billionaire, by now, just holding the stock. So, um, but I carried around that hate and that misguided energy for a long time. So, it was great to get rid of that. And I think that's the one thing that I learned, about just letting that stuff go. I try to make better choices now. My partners in the UK, my other partners on the development side here, have always been good so far. So, anyway, yeah, we had a request for somebody to be in the video. Sorry about that. Let's see what else we got question wise here. Um, let's see here. See if you're still on, and still want to go live. And hey, how you doing? Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Nope. All right. Well, he left. So, all right. I think that's all the questions on Instagram. Let's take a look at what we have on YouTube here. There are a few more questions here. Let's see. Perhaps once we get older, people get jaded over time. People care about each other more than you think. It feels nice to care about people and be cared for. That's what makes us special as humans, I believe. Yeah. I talked about why I don't like San Francisco. San Francisco has homeless everywhere. It's honestly worse than some cities in developing countries. Yes, you're exactly right. I mean, I think you're exactly right. Chinegupta. I think I have been to other countries where the homeless situation was not as bad as it is in San Francisco. Things you think someone who's joining college later this year should know. All right, we'll get back to the college thing. What's my beef with Ali? I have no beef with Ali. Um, hello, Gordon. Should I buy a home now or wait? Um, let's see. So buying a house, yeah. You talking about the Apple stock? Actually, the stocks it would be worth $309 million. No, because there were four stock splits after that in 1997. After 1997, so you would take each of those stock amounts in shares, and you would double it each time. So 10 million shares would become 20 million, or a million shares would become 2 million. 2 million would become 4 million, 4 million would be 8 million, and 8 million would become 16 million. So it would be 16 million shares of Apple stock at 300 and some bucks a share. So yeah, whatever that is, somebody can do the math. So yeah, no, just to be clear, I mean, I don't know who ZZ is here, but I have no beef with Ali. I mean, Ali was, we were working on the project together for the AI-driven Forex investment platform, and, we had certain expectations on a delivery schedule, and his military service interrupted the timely completion of that, and I see he's now back at it, and he's kind of altered some aspects of it and things like that. So, it's always interesting. I mean, this Hive concept that he has continues to evolve, and we just had an opportunity to and to put this in a commercial application for clients, and so that deadline came and went a couple of times because he wasn't completed with it yet. So, but Ali's going to work on his schedule. I got nothing against Ali. I mean, there's no beef, with him. I mean, I love Ali. So he's a, I enjoyed our time together, and I look forward to him completing his stuff. So it's upwards of 4 billion. Yep, I'm sure it is. So let's see. What's my take on relationships? You talking about relationships in general, I guess. So, I think relationships are important. So, I think that it's what's what makes life worth living. And so I had I went. Uh, I I talked about this in one of my other videos, but I'll mention it here since we've got a good number of people. The It's important to be able to build relationships, real relationships, and be able to connect with people. And it's something that millennials don't do very well because they've grown up in an age of technology, and so if you're 20 to 28, you do it pretty well. Because technology hadn't quite gotten to that point where you spent most of the first 10, 12, 14 years of your life without technology. But you've spent the majority of the last 7 to 10 years of your life or more really kind of focused on technology. And so that technology has been detrimental in forming real in person relationships. And I think that it's important to be able to build those in person relationships in order to be able to forge certain business relationships. Whether it's business relationships or personal relationships, if you don't have a handle on how to be in a relationship, whether that's a business relationship or a personal relationship, you're not going to be successful in business. You need a relationship with your customer. You need a relationship with your investors. You need a relationship with your partners. You need a relationship in your personal life. And I think that all of those are important. And I think that they're all equally important, actually. So if you're single and you spend most of your time, you know, blowing money at the strip club and kind of having fun and things like that. Good on you. But you're not forming the kind of lasting personal relationships that are going to help your business move forward. I've said before that I was making between 300,000 and 400,000 a year when I met my wife, and very quickly we went to 400,000 to 800,000. Then from 800,000 to 1.2 million to 1.5 to 1.8 million to 2.1 to 2.3 to 2.5 to 2.8, and just kept going. And so it's that rapid growth as I got into a sustainable, high quality relationship, and then started having kids and had those responsibilities and things like that. It was an important part that drove me kind of forward in what I did, and I think it's important. I think and being able to build the kind of rapport, and I have a video on 2 minutes to build rapport. You have to be able to build rapport with people in under 2 minutes. People that you meet randomly, and I strike up conversations with people all the time. I'll be at lunch by myself, and I'll talk to somebody who's also at lunch by themselves. Sometimes I'll ask even if they want to join me, or I'll chat with them across the next table or something. But the idea is that building rapport with people, building a connection is a skill, and you have to practice that skill. You have to be able to connect with people in order to be able to create that relationship, and then you have to service that relationship as you're continuing to work with them. And I don't think that many of the 16 to 20, 36 year olds, 32 year olds really are doing that pretty well. And so it's there's a process to it, and I think that it's important to be building relationships all the time. I enjoy it. It's really what took me from being an introvert to being an extrovert, and so it really helped me. Before I was sort of an introvert pretending to be an extrovert for the sake of trying to build this skill. But now I actually really enjoy engaging with people. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy adding people to my friends list. And I mean, I don't have time to chat. I mean, and I apologize for everybody who, DMs me on Instagram and wants to chat and things like that. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I mean, my work and my home schedule and things like that just don't allow for it, and things like that. So I really do appreciate it. But I'm trying to please understand that with 269,000 followers, if I was to chat for 15 minutes with everybody, it would take up my entire 24 hour a day time for the entire year. So there I would get no sleep and I get nothing else done. So but I do appreciate everybody who has reached out on LinkedIn. Add me to your professional network, and I accept everybody because I think everybody has real value. And the great thing is that when I do decide to move into opportunities in India and in Africa and things like that, I'll have a long list of people that I'm connected to, and I love that. I mean, it may be 3 to 5 years from now, it may be 10 years from now. But the great thing is that we'll be connected, and I'll have a great list of people that I can utilize. Not utilize, but I mean, I can a list of people a list I can use to connect to people. Not a list of people I can utilize, but a list that I can utilize to connect to people. So anyway, we've got about 5 more minutes on Instagram here, and let me check some of the questions we've had on YouTube. If any of you on Instagram want to move over to YouTube, it's on YouTube Live, so and it'll be posted here again shortly. Um, let's see. Oh, should you buy a home right now? Um, Hang on a second. No, New value investor here. Any advice? What are your thoughts on the markets today? Do you think the rally is warranted, or is news of improving vaccines nonsense? I think it's all nonsense. I think everything on the news is nonsense these days. Um, were you always good at writing growing up? Well, Cyril, that's a great question. So, so so thanks for your advice. As an introvert, I can really connect with your words. Thank you so much, Ashish. I appreciate that. It really means a lot to me. It really does. So Cyril, was I always really good at writing growing up? So on my YouTube channel, if you look at my mentor videos, if you do a search on Gordon Miller mentor, and you look for the video on Ron Smith. So Ron was my 11th grade English teacher, and I won't use the time here to talk about that, but he was the one who recognized I had some really significant writing ability, but I really wasn't applying myself. And he's the one who insisted that I apply myself, or I wasn't going to graduate 11th grade English. So, he's like, my first draft is as good as most other people's final drafts, but he essentially got me to continue writing and rewriting and writing and rewriting. And it made me a better writer. And honestly, just like posting on Quora, it's actually made me a better person. As much as you all think you've learned from me, I've learned a great deal from you all as well. So it's an amazing thing. I really do appreciate all the comments and everything else. I try to answer as many comments as I can. Quora as a platform is a little broken, but yeah. So repeating the video title. If you can do a search on my YouTube channel or on YouTube itself, just search for Gordon Miller and then mentor and then Ron Smith, and you should be able to find my video on my mentor, Ron Smith, who is the one who taught me, that the key to writing is rewriting, and he put me through hell for a better part of a semester, but it's really worth it. So, ironically, I see my wife actually joined. So, thanks, babe. I love you very much. So, okay, I've got another minute on Instagram, and you can move over to YouTube if you want on YouTube Live. But just wanting to remind everybody that we're going to go live at 11 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this is the new time that seems to work well for everybody. We'll see how it goes. We actually had more people, I think, in the sessions previously, so at the later time. But we'll see where it goes. We'll continue to kind of experiment. But you can go to gordonmiller.com and book a session if you want. No pressure. And still working on my books and a bunch of other stuff. So I look forward to being able to do this again on Friday, and hope everybody has a great rest of their week. And I appreciate all the thoughts and concerns and everything for my melted face burn photo. Thankfully, I'm still irresistibly handsome, so no worries there. But thank you all very much on Instagram. You guys are going to go out in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right. All right. Let me just title the video here. There you go. So, all right, let's see whatever are there any other questions here. Oh, the thoughts on the market today. Yeah, so I don't think there's a whole lot to it. Um, the markets are gonna rebound. The news is driving market fluctuations, so it's hard to say. So anyway, guys, appreciate it. Any other questions? If not, then what's the title of your video on how to build rapport? I think the title of the video is how to build rapport in under 2 minutes, I believe is the name of the video. But if you just search YouTube on Gordon Miller and the word rapport, you should get that. And it's like video 141 or something like that, I believe, somewhere back in that thing. If you browse the most recent videos on my channel, you should see it in the top 10 most recent videos. And but yeah, I mean that's really the thing. I mean the real trick is, and I didn't really notice this until because I was so much of an introvert. I never really thought much about how my introversion was kind of holding me back on some of the things that I wanted to accomplish. And so when I got a chance to be able to practice the skill of building rapport with people, that's when it really kind of clicked that wow, this is really an important skill, and that it's important to be able to build those kind of relationships. So, uh, reposting my question: things you think someone who will be joining college this year should know. Yeah, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so I mean, we talked about college before a little earlier in the video in terms of I think it's going to be done remotely for the fall semester, just like it did for the most of the last semester. So it's going to be largely the same kind of deal. And I mean, I don't know that that's everybody's ideal learning style. The dropout rate for online only stuff is like 72%. I just don't think that it's going to be an effective long-term strategy, but I do believe it'll have to continue at least in the fall. So hopefully that will end up getting us past the pandemic stage and life can get back to normal. So, but I don't know. I mean, I think that everybody who survived this last semester remotely, you got more of the same to come. So, I, you know, my middle son was planning on starting college in the fall and still will, but starting it remotely. Again, I've heard the jokes, which I find humorous. That it's like it's like now every college is like University of Phoenix online. So and it's there's no I tell you I take Mark Cuban at his word. Mark believes you should take the first 2 years of school at a community college near you anyway, and then transfer to the university of your choice because English 101 and English 102 and English 201 and English 202 and basic math and all that other stuff is all the same. It's like a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared for math is the same at every it doesn't take a rocket scientist to teach you basic math. And so it isn't basic English, basic math, basic history, all the basic stuff is really the same everywhere. So I support Mark's assertion that the real value of college is finding that balance between the cost of college and making it affordable and the convenience of taking it locally and things like that. The college experience which is in air quotes college experience is what people have been going to college for up until now. Well, that experience is now home at your parents' place that you would never have moved back into if it wasn't for, COVID-19. So, I think that's kind of tough on most kids. I mean, I know I left at 18 and I never came back. And I think that that's a tough thing for most people to justify. I mean, they'll always, have come back as opposed to, being out there on their own. So I think it's a tough thing. So let me see what the other comment was. How should one make most of one's college life to be ready for life ahead? So, yeah, I made some comment about this earlier when we were talking about college, and I'll repeat it here. College is what you make of it. I mean, it's your time, you're paying for it. College is not just about going to classes. It's certainly not about going to parties, although those seem to be the two activities that people focus on the most. I did this in graduate school where I spent the time that I had. I mean, it was my time. I was on a graduate research assistantship helping the first year foundation students in architecture and working to build one of the labs. Um, and it was a great experience because I didn't have to work outside of what I was already doing, and was able to pay my bills. And But it was all about what I was going to learn and what I was going to do with my time. And so I took the time and invested the 2.5 years in learning everything I possibly could at that time about interactive multimedia, and ended up becoming, co-founding the lab for scientific visual analysis because we were doing scientific visual analysis and multimedia, and then was offered my own lab after that next year for founding the multimedia lab at Virginia Tech. And so here I am, 26, running my own lab, and it's one of the hottest resources in education at the time. This is 92, yeah, 91, 92. So yeah, I guess I was 26 when I got started, but 26, 27. And then later on in 93 is when I started the company as a side gig, then 94 incorporated, and then, hired a bunch of employees, and then made the transition myself in February of 97. So, and we already had 5 employees and a 14-month backlog and things like that. So, but, but yeah, no, I mean, I think school is what you make of it, and I think you have to choose how you're going to use your time, and use your time wisely. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day, and they're all valuable. So, um, Gordon, I've got an exam in 6 days, but I'm addicted to watching your live stream. Couldn't bring myself to close it. Well, yeah, I tell you what, if that's the case, well, first of all, thanks. But yeah, if I have to go offline for the next 6 days so that you study for your exam, then I'll do that. So, I mean, I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the fact that you enjoy my live streams. But the live streams will get saved, and so you can always come back to them. So don't feel like that's an issue. But I hope you do well in your exam. So let me know how it goes. Is there a subject you found to be redundant when you were young, which actually turned out to be useful, vice versa? Is there any subject you feel is redundant or should be scrapped? Um, so, um, I try to learn something from everything. And so, I'll give you an example. Ty Lopez, I'm here in my garage. It's all about knowledge. That first video that I'm in Ty Lopez's VIP sessions, and I got a chance to chat along with a whole bunch of other people with his brother the other day who helped engineer, that ad campaign 10 years ago. And that was the 67 steps campaign, and it was $67. And I signed up for the 67 steps campaign and paid him my $67. And then I really learned like 3 or 4 really useful things from that. And I got more than $67 worth of value out of that. So, I've applied those since then and made money with it. And so, yeah, okay, great. It was a good use of $67. So, you know, I think that everything that you encounter in life is useful. You just don't always know what its utility is going to be until somewhere down the line. I did my minors in my undergraduate in philosophy and in psychology. And I had almost enough credits to get a minor in both, but I actually I actually had an opportunity my senior year to take a 5,000 level English class, which was a graduate level English class, which was insane. My professor was this amazing professor that studied at Oxford, was from England, and was teaching Chaucer in the Old English. Now, I am my dyslexia is horrible. I don't enjoy reading. I'm not a reading kind of guy. I'm a visual learner. I'm an experiential learner. I really don't, reading is like the least valuable way for me to learn. But this class was just incredible. I loved taking this class. It was just outstanding. And to hear him read it in Old English, and then, he was reading the thing to me basically. And so we get this guy with just an incredible intellect and incredible knowledge of the language, and we're dissecting it and he's reading it in English, with the accent and everything. It was phenomenal. And so, I missed having a minor in philosophy or psychology, because I needed to take one philosophy class or one psychology class in order to get the minor in whichever one I wanted. And I ended up taking that 5,000 level graduate English class. But it really gave me a love for that kind of experience that you can create. And I spent 4 years in theater in high school, so it was very, it used to be that those types of things like Chaucer were performed as performances, and or oratations. It was spoken to everybody because not everybody. There were no books, not many, and you couldn't really afford a book, and not many people could read anyway, so it didn't matter. But the oratory tradition was one where it kind of went through that whole thing. It was just really amazing. I mean, it was just an amazing class, and I find that anything, whether it's Chaucer in Old English or Ty Lopez, the 67 Steps, which are about as far apart from usefulness as you can possibly get. If the usefulness of whatever it is going to depend on how relevant it is to you at the time, maybe. But it can also be relevant to you on down the line. Mm. Ice cold water in a red Solo cup. Thank you, Solo. Appreciate it. Mm. I don't know why it makes water taste better. So, but anyway, so I'd like to think that I enjoy investing time in learning things, and whether it's autosomal recessive genetic traits, and those are ones that are independent of sex, sort of recessive traits like green eyes and things like that, which I have. I have green blue eyes. My wife has green brown eyes. Two of our kids my oldest has green blue eyes, and so does my middle one. He has blue eyes that aren't very green, and then our youngest has brown eyes that are just killer brown eyes, but no green in them either. But so it's interesting. I mean, even things like that, can benefit on down the line somewhere. But anyway, I try to find something useful in everything that I read or do or consume. Short-term or long-term goals. Well, I guess my seriously short-term goals is to wrap up this video so I can go have lunch. It's funny. This one, changing the time to 11 o'clock bumps into lunch as opposed to bumping into dinner, which is fine. Um, so, but seriously, I mean, my short-term goals is actually to improve my processes during this COVID lockdown. I'm getting ready to go into a cycle of about 3 months where there isn't a whole lot to do over the summer. Our educational projects really don't start back up until August or September. Our other corporate stuff is, we're continuing to support them during the lockdown and things like that. So, and as things open back up. So, we're good, until, probably September in terms of, or August or September in terms of just activity level. So I get a chance to get some stuff done, and I'm gonna clean up my office and get rid of some stuff that's been kind of hanging around. So, things like that. But long-term goals, again, it's, um, kind of what I had. Said before, my long-term goals over the next 15 years. I started this concept in the video early on. I'm really going to. I'm 55. I'm going to spend the next 15 years going live 3 times a week for an hour, and really just kind of reaching out and connecting on opportunities and helping other people be successful, and by bringing value to their lives, and answering their questions and being there for them and helping them be successful. I hope that it'll bring meaning and value and joy and benefit to my life. So that's really kind of my long-term goal over the next 15 years. I look forward to looking back on these videos. I'll be at like video 3000 or something by then, but 15 years from now, when I'm 70 and looking back at my 55-year-old, videos and going, man, I mean, I was kind of onto something, and but we'll see where it goes. So, um, oh well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoy watching the videos live. I mean, the whole goal about being able to change the time was so more people could attend and more people could enjoy the videos. There was a lot of requests for that. I think one of my followers for actually working out ideally what the right time slot was. We're going to continue to play with it, but right now, live at 11 is where it'll stay. Bumps up into lunch, which is fine. But I started a little bit early, and we're running a little bit long, so it doesn't matter. So one of the questions that I got, and I'll wrap up with this one unless there's another question, is if my son were wanted to drop out of school to pursue running his own business, would I support him? So first of all, I will support my kids in whatever decisions they make in life. They want to, get married to somebody. They want to go move to another country. They want to do whatever. I'll support that. I mean, they have to do them. And things like that. So, uh, well, thanks. I'm glad the live videos are so much fun. I appreciate that. So, I really believe in supporting my kids in whatever they do. And if they make a mistake and they're like, man, I really wish I had not moved to Nepal, or I wish I had not moved to Los Angeles, or I wish I had not, taken this job in New York City, or I wish I hadn't married this person, or I wish I hadn't done that. That's the way you learn. I mean, I was married before. I was married to the wrong person. And thankfully, I mean, I only wasted between 5 and 7 years of my life, about 6 years. And in my 20s too. I mean, I wish I had that time back. I would do that over again. Unfortunately, I wasn't a great person. Uh, did I just say Nepal? Yeah, I said Nepal. Why are you from Nepal? The but my wife was married before, and people make mistakes. I mean, it was a mistake for both of us to get married to the other people, but we've been married to each other for 22 years. So it's just one of those kind of things that you have to let people make mistakes. That's the way you learn. In fact, I wish I had made more mistakes early on in my life, in my 20s and 30s. I wish I had taken more chances. I wish I had done more crazy shit. I wish I had, made money and lost everything 7 times before I turned 40 and just pushed it to the limits. And I really do. I mean, I really wish I had taken more risks. So, yeah, I mean, if my kids wanted to drop out of school, we can always go back to school. And if they wanted to build their own business, then that's great. I would support them in that. Not going to loan you any money, but hey, just that's nobody loaned me any money. So, but that's just the way it goes. And I'm glad you guys enjoy the live videos. I really do. I'm grateful that the live video format is a little more interactive. You know, Instagram provides for people to come on live, and I know Gary Vee's been doing that with people, and maybe we'll get into more of that so that we can get more more actual interaction and things like that. It just depends. We'll see how it goes. Um, you once said you were broke when you met your wife on Quora. One of the strongest factors of you sticking together is her tough skin and thin, through thick and thin. Is that true, or did I remember that incorrectly? No, you remember that exactly right. I was making, the company was making about 300,000 a year when we met, but we had 5 employees, so I was netting roughly about 100,000 a year, which at that time was about 150 to 180,000 in today's money, and which is a good salary. I mean, that was, but I had created a job, and I basically created a job for myself, and I cranked my income earning potential up to about 400,000 a year just in my own billings. The company was billing over 1 million a year, 1,200,000, or more, and but 400,000 of that was mine. And so, I went pretty quickly from making like 100,000 net to making over 500,000 net, and paying myself that salary. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, when it goes like that, and we've certainly enjoyed the money over the years, and tried to do great things for the kids. So, but I didn't mean to imply you met your wife on Quora. No, that's all right. That's I didn't think you meant that. So, but would I consider investing in Nepal? No. It's just not, again, investing in developing areas is a lot more difficult. And it's hard enough to invest in this environment, in opportunities in the developed world. I mean, right now, investing in stuff in China and the United States and Europe and things like that is hard enough. So, investing in other areas that are underserved or underrepresented, makes it even harder. So, Eastern Europe, parts of Asia, parts of Africa, just not, unfortunately not, huge on my list of to do, things to do. But listen, everybody, I want to say thanks. I really get a lot out of these sessions. I love going live with you guys. Uh, iPhone or Android, uh, similarly Mac or Windows. So I use 2 iPhones to record these, one in vertical format, one in horizontal. I carry an iPhone. I've used both. I frankly prefer iPhones right now. I was a huge Google phone user for the longest time. Google Pixels, Google Pixel 2 and Pixel 3 XLs were great phones. I just did not like the way the operating system had continued to evolve. It got more complicated and things like that. I'm also like heavily invested in the Apple ecosystem with things like my iPad and things like that. So for me, the iPad is really kind of that, and the watch, and I do use a Windows PC. I have a Surface Laptop 2 that I use, and it's the closest thing to the MacBook Air that you can find hardware wise. And the Alcantara keyboard is to die for. I mean, it just really is an amazing thing. And the great thing about it, let's see here. Yeah, it's right here behind me. So, the great thing about my Surface is that, first of all, it's like amazingly thin. So, it's ridiculous in terms of, and the Alcantara keyboard and thing is just ridiculously good. And it's super light and built like steel. And I love it. It's one connector on the side to plug in. It plugs into my huge 4K monitor. So I've got, 43 inches of desktop real estate and things like that. So, I love my Surface. But I'm also a huge MacBook Air fan. Now that they've fixed the, they have the new Magic keyboard, and the only magic about the new keyboard is that it actually works. So, it's, unfortunately, they chose the base model to have an i3 processor, which just isn't fast enough for, some things. So it's like, good Lord. I mean, you're going to hobble the thing with an i3 processor just so it ends up being 899. So, I mean, you can bump it up to over $1,000, but the whole idea is to have a really good unit for under $1,000, and they kind of screwed that deal up. But not bad if you're web browsing. But that's about it. So anyway, but I've traditionally been a Mac user. When we started, when we had our lawsuit against Apple, our attorneys required that we no longer use Mac products, so we switched to PCs in 1990. This was September of '97. So we in '98 we switched to PCs. Ironically, the way the story goes is that we had switched to PCs and we got Microsoft certified, and it was our Microsoft certification and our use of PCs that landed us our Army contract in April of 1998. So it was hilarious that, it truly, at war with Apple for no reason over the trademark dispute, but ultimately it put us on the path of government contracting work, which changed our lives forever. So it's pretty amazing. So, have ethics in technology affected my agenda? No. I mean, we've always acted ethically. So, I'm gonna get a Surface laptop for university probably as well. Glad to know you're part of the gang. You missed the opportunity to get a nice blue or maroon color, though. Why black? Well, so I'm, I'm pretty OCD, in things like that. So, things for me, even cars, are either black, white or silver or gray. White is, I haven't done white cars, but, I've had a few. But for me, all my Mac stuff is slate gray. All my, traditional ThinkPad stuff has been black. And when I made the move from, from the stuff that we were doing to the Surface, this just sort of black slab, especially when it comes to the screen. I mean, I have a bachelor's of fine art and design, so the fact that the screen and the bezel and the whole thing just is like one magic slab of black is appealing to me just from a design standpoint. So, yep. So for me, everything's a design decision. And I really appreciate the comments on everybody enjoying the videos and stuff like that. Thank you so much. We're going on 90 minutes here almost, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. We'll go live again 11 on Friday and 11 Eastern, all over the world at the various other times. Thank you all so much. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Bye.